Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I'm Tina Jha. Before I take you through what made news through the day, I would like to appeal to all our viewers to continue to maintain COVID-appropriate behavior as we are witnessing a massive surge in cases of coronavirus. Remember to wear your face masks, wash your hands and face regularly, and ensure physical distancing each time you step outside. These simple precautions will help all of us keep the infection away. And now the headlines of the day. Centre widens India's vaccine pool, allows fast-track approvals for COVID vaccines used in the US, the UK, Europe and Japan. Per day cases in the country touch 1,61,000, 11 crore people vaccinated so far. At the 6th Raisina Dialogue, Prime Minister Modi underscores the need for the world to fight unitedly against the COVID pandemic. External Affairs Minister S. Shankar highlights the policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, asserts that India wants to be an enlightened power, has no intention of hindering anyone's progress. Campaigning in full swing for the fifth phase of West Bengal elections, Union Home Minister Amit Shah holds political rallies in 3 places, including in Darjeeling. Mamta Banerjee holds a rally after day-long campaign ban. And harvest festivals celebrated across the country. The President, the Vice President and the Prime Minister greet people of various regions on the beginning of their new year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered the keynote address at the 6th edition of the Raisina Dialogue on Tuesday via video message. The Prime Minister called for global community to come together to save humanity from the ongoing pandemic. He said that the world was underprepared to handle such a pandemic in today's times, as the last global pandemic, such as COVID, was a century ago. He stated that in the neighborhood, India encouraged a coordinated regional response to the crisis, adding that India shared medicines and protective equipment with over 150 countries last year.
Humanity has faced many infectious diseases. Since then, the world today is underprepared to handle the COVID-19 pandemic. Our scientists, researchers, and industry have answered some questions. What is the virus? How does it spread? How can we slow it down? How do we make a vaccine? How do we administer vaccine at a scale and with speed? To these and many other such questions, many solutions have emerged. And no doubt, many more are yet to come.
The Prime Minister said that the COVID pandemic has presented us an opportunity to reshape the world order and also to reorient our thinking. He said that for over a year, the best minds of our societies have been engaged in battling this pandemic. He also stressed on the need to create systems that address the problems of today and challenges of tomorrow.
The best minds of our societies have been engaged in battling this pandemic. All the governments of the world at all levels are trying to contain and control this pandemic.
Earlier, speaking at the opening session, External Affairs Minister S. Shankar said, India wants to be an enlightened force that helps other countries move forward. He said during his dialogue with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation CEO Mark Sussman, without naming any country, Shankar said, India does not want to be that entity which, upon entering a room, closes the door for the others. His remark is being seen as an indication towards China's attitude of blocking the much-needed reforms of the UN Security Council.
There are powers and powers. I mean, every big power rising is unique. Okay? I would like to be an enlightened power, which does not do what all the others did before me, which is to shut the door as soon as you entered the room. Okay? I would like to make sure that the door is open for other powers to come in. But I truly believe, for example, the rise of Africa. Actually, the world will not be multipolar until the rise of Africa, for example, and not just the rise of Africa, actually takes place. So, to me, to go back to your first question, the world is a family. I would like to be an enlightened power which not only organizes its own rise, but which also facilitates the rise of others so that, as I said, the real diversity of this world is fully reflected in international affairs. And to do that, I must keep looking at those challenges and crises as they come and work with other countries. And that is exactly what is the foreign policy vision of my Prime Minister. And that's what we try to do in Indian diplomacy.
The External Affairs Minister also explained the merits of India's policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. He said the policy reflects the interdependence of India with the world. It has also highlighted India's role as an engine of development in the way that it helped poor countries during the COVID pandemic.
Really to make sure that, the sort of the weaker, vulnerable, less privileged people within societies and among countries don't get left behind. But to this, other than doing what we are doing, I think this idea, it's important that there are additional capabilities because it isn't enough, we are not, unless you have greater production, distributive justice by itself will not be adequate. And I think that sense of India as an additional engine of global growth. Now, Vijay referred, for example, to the fact that you have India-developed vaccine as well. I mean, which is a very, very important development. So I think part of India's rise would be really to bring to demonstrate additional capabilities. And I think the world would be better served by those additional capabilities.
The Prime Minister's scientific advisor A. Vijay Raghavan said India had effectively intervened to counteract the effects of an unilateral supply chain in the world.
International collaboration is just that, it's a collaboration. And if you look at the start of the pandemic, India was in a position where PPEs, healthcare equipment, ventilators, were all in short supply because of a global supply chain being affected, because of a few strong nodes dominating. Now, we learned from that lesson very rapidly and immediately did two things. We scaled up the manufacture of all this, but at the vaccine front, we did something which is pretty impressive. In addition to scaling up our manufacturing of vaccines developed elsewhere, we also developed vaccines here. And that's something quite impressive. India became immediately not just a huge vaccine exporter and manufacturer, but also a vaccine developer.
Focused on foreign policy, the Raisina Dialogue is a conference organized jointly by the External Affairs Ministry and the Observer Research Foundation. Due to the COVID pandemic, this year the conference has gone digital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session of the function. The President of Rwanda and Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen were also present at the inaugural session digitally. And earlier in the day, External Affairs Minister S. Shankar held extensive talks with his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian. After the talks, the minister said that India and France will advance their shared post-COVID-19 agenda through close collaboration. The two leaders discussed all aspects of the bilateral strategic partnership, regional and global challenges, and also cooperation at the UN Security Council. The talks also focused on ways to boost cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region. The French Foreign Minister arrived in India on Monday on a 3-day visit. On Wednesday, he will take part in the Raisina dialogue, along with Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne. He is also scheduled to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar during his visit. Moving on to some other news, nearly 40 lakh vaccination doses have been administered. In fact, they were administered on the third day of the ongoing Tika Utsav. Over 10 crore 85 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far. These include over 90 lakh 33,000 healthcare workers who have got the first dose and over 55 lakh 58,000 who have also been administered the second dose. Besides, over 1 crore frontline workers have received the first dose and over 49 lakh people have got the second dose. These include the frontline workers. Over 4 crore people above the age of 60 have received the first dose of the vaccine, and more than 22 lakh people have also got the second dose. Besides, more than 3 crore 42 lakh beneficiaries aged 45 to 60 have been given the first dose, and the second dose has been received by over 7 lakh 59,000 people. Meanwhile, the Drugs Controller General of India has granted permission for restricted use of Sputnik V vaccine in emergency situation. Sputnik V is the third vaccine to get emergency use authorization after Covishield and Covaxin. Sputnik V will be rolled out by the end of April or early May. The government is also fast-tracking the emergency use approvals for other foreign vaccines. This will expand the coverage of vaccination drive in the country.
बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट रेगुलेटरी बदलाव आया है। बाहर के जो विदेश में बने हुए वैक्सीन हैं, अगर उनको यूएस के रेगुलेटर ने, यूके के रेगुलेटर ने, ईयू के रेगुलेटर ने और जापान के रेगुलेटर ने अप्रूव किया है या डब्ल्यूएचओ की इमरजेंसी यूज ऑथराइजेशन लिस्ट में इंक्लूड हो गया है, देन दैट और दोज वैक्सीन्स आर अप्रूव्ड फॉर यूज इन इंडिया. A prior precondition of a clinical trial will not be applicable, and this is a provision for COVID-19 vaccines only under the special circumstances of the day of the pandemic related urgency that is prevailing in the country.
Looking at the COVID statistics in the country, which continue to be worrying, India's daily new cases continue to rise, with 161,000 new cases registered in just the last 24 hours, pushing the nation's total COVID-19 tally to over 1 crore 36 lakh. The country's active cases have now surpassed 12 lakh 64,000, comprising 9.24% of the total infections. 879 deaths were also reported in the last 24 hours, taking the death toll to 1 lakh 71,058. With 97,168 new recoveries in the same period, the total recoveries have crossed 1.22 crore. The national COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 89.51%. 10 states, including Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Kerala have shown a rise in COVID cases, which are being reported daily. 80.80% of the new cases have been reported from just these 10 states. Maharashtra continues to report the highest daily new cases at 51,751, and this figure is from the last 24 hours, followed by Uttar Pradesh with 13,604 new cases, while Chhattisgarh reported 13,576 fresh cases of COVID-19.
The previous highest surge has already been crossed and the trend is going upward. So that is a cause for worry, and that is something that we continuously share with the states and UTs and try to help them in tackling the pandemic in a more effective manner. As we engage with you today, There are 53 central teams which are camping in 53 districts of the country.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with governors and lieutenant governors of various states and union territories on the 14th of April, that's Wednesday, on the COVID-19 situation. This would be the first meeting of this kind during the pandemic and has been convened amid the centre looking to push for stronger adherence to the pandemic protocols among citizens across the country. The development comes days after Prime Minister Modi, at a virtual meeting with the chief ministers, had called for the involvement of governors in handling the pandemic. And with that, time for a short break here. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture at 9:30 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha television. Article 113 deals with procedure in Parliament with respect to estimates. So much of the estimates as relates to expenditure charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India shall not be submitted to the vote of Parliament. But nothing in this clause shall be construed as preventing the discussion in either House of Parliament of any of those estimates. So much of the said estimates as relates to other expenditure shall be submitted in the form of demands for grants to the House of the People, and the House of the People shall have power to assent or to refuse to assent to any demand, or to assent to any demand subject to a reduction the amount specified therein. No demand for a grant shall be made except on the recommendation of the President.
Prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English-language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Campaigning for the fifth phase of assembly elections in West Bengal is on in full swing. Leading the BJP's charge in the state, Union Home Minister Amit Shah held multiple rallies in Darjeeling, Nagarkota and Islampur, taking on West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee for her outsider barb against him and Prime Minister Modi. Amit Shah said that it is in fact the Trinamool Congress, the left and the Congress who have to depend on the outsiders. He said that while Mamta Banerjee has been involved in 115 scams in Bengal, Prime Minister Modi has started 115 schemes for the poor and the needy. Claiming that the Trinamool Congress government has not raised the wages of tea garden workers, Amit Shah assured that the BJP will raise the pay as soon as it comes to power. He also promised that all refugees will be given citizenship by the BJP. He in fact also assured of giving official status to the Gorkha language.
दार्जिलिंग की सबसे बड़ी समस्या पीने का पानी, इसके कई रास्ते हैं, पहाड़ है, पानी को बचाने के कई रास्ते हैं, मगर किसी ने करा नहीं है। गांव में, शहर में जल संचय के काम के माध्यम से एक सुंदर व्यवस्था कर 600 करोड़ रुपया इन्वेस्ट कर भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार दार्जिलिंग के पीने के पानी की समस्या का हम गंभीरता के साथ रास्ता निकालने वाले हैं। 600 करोड़ रुपए।
While BJP President JP Nadda claimed that West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee's plight is that of a defeated player. Campaigning in Bengal's Katwa, Bardhaman and Nadda districts on Tuesday, Nadda said that the TMC chief has done injustice to the people of the state. He assured the people of Bengal that if voted to power, the BJP will usher in development, stop atrocities on women and also create jobs for the youth. Nadda also said that the TMC government has failed to maintain law and order in Bengal. He alleged that Mamta Banerjee's politics of extortion, appeasement and bribery institutionalized by her party have ruined the state. The Election Commission on Tuesday issued a notice to West Bengal BJP President Dilip Ghosh. The notice has been sent for his alleged remarks that there would be a Sital Kuchi in several places, a reference to the killing of 4 people in firing by the CISF during poll violence in Cooch Behar district. The poll panel said that his statements were provocative and could lead to a breakdown of law and order. The Election Commission has asked him to respond to the notice by 10 a.m. on Wednesday. The Trinamool Congress had approached the poll panel against Dilip Ghosh. And the Election Commission has also barred BJP leader Rahul Sinha from campaigning for 48 hours for his alleged remarks over Cooch Behar poll violence. The Election Commission said that he made highly provocative statements that could have serious law and order implications in the state. In another order, the Election Commission has let off BJP candidate from Nandigram, Suvendu Adhikari, with a light rap for his remarks that if people vote for Begum, there will be a mini Pakistan. The Commission said this was a very controversial and provocative statement by Adhikari. And facing a 24-hour campaign ban, West Bengal Chief Minister and Trinamool Congress Chief Mamta Banerjee on Tuesday protested against the Election Commission's decision. Calling the poll panel's move unconstitutional and undemocratic, Mamta Banerjee staged a 3.5-hour-long dharna at Mayor Road next to Mahatma Gandhi's statue. No other TMC leaders or supporters were seen nearby. The Election Commission had barred Mamta Banerjee from campaigning for 24 hours from 8 p.m. on Monday till 8 p.m. on Tuesday for her remarks against the central forces and also a statement which had alleged religious overtones. Various regions of the country today celebrated the traditional New Year in the form of different festivals: Ugadi, Gudi Parv, Chaitra Shukladi, Cheti Chand, Vishu and Bohag Bihu. Greeting the citizens, President Ramnath Kovind said that these festivals, which mark the beginning of the new year, are celebrated across the country in different ways, symbolizing unity in diversity. The President hoped that the festivals will strengthen the spirit of prosperity, harmony and unity in our society and also encourage goodwill and fraternity among people. Also extending good wishes to people, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said, the names differ, but the festive spirit remains the same. He said, in our country, festivals are always an occasion for family and friends to come together and celebrate. But due to the ongoing pandemic, he urged fellow citizens to celebrate the festival by adhering to the COVID health and hygiene protocols. Prime Minister Modi also greeted the nation on the occasion of various festivals celebrating the new year. He said these festivals showcase India's diversity and the spirit of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. So that's it from us in this bulletin. But before we leave, I once again appeal to all our viewers to continue to maintain COVID-appropriate behavior in order to stay safe from the ongoing pandemic. Remember to wear your face masks, wash your hands and face regularly, and also ensure that you maintain physical distancing each time you step outside. Remember, these simple precautions on our part are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. Take care of yourselves and your families. Good night, and thank you for your time.